Hey friends, this is Mandy.
This is Kristen.
And we're back again with another episode of the Rocky Road podcast. And we have our friend Madi Marshall here today. And she's going to share with us her story and what she's been on and her journey. And we're super excited for this episode and for you to hear how cool she is. And she's just a cool person.
Thanks, Mandy. Thanks, Kristen.
Also, I want to point out that I will call both of you the wrong names this entire time.
Yeah.
Because I will speak to you, Mandy.
Mandy.
She did that earlier.
I did. I said, oh, Mandy. I go, no, you're Mandy. And I'm going to call you Mandy, but you're Maddie.
It's just one letter off. It's so close.
Yeah, my brain is just not equipped. So,
It's quite all right.
Yeah.
I apologize in advance. It will happen.
We'll allow it.
Madison and Mandy and Kristen. 3 people here today.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're here with Maddie. She's going to share with us. We're just going to jump right into it. Maddie, tell us who you are.
I love that. Well, I'd like to start at the beginning of the story, but I think I need to go back a little further than that. I'm kidding. That's from a New Girl episode for everyone listening. It's a good episode.
You can throw all the references in. I don't watch any of these shows, so.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Mandy doesn't. No, I was born at a very young age.
That's great.
No, I don't know. Childhood is a blur. I'm 24 years old, I think, and I just it's all a blur to me at this point. Like the last, I'd say 3-4 years of my life have been like so formative for me, but I know that there's a lot of like core memories buried in my childhood.
That's an Inside Out reference.
That is an Inside Out reference. I use it all the time.
It's a great
Good job. See, you're a mom.
I know
that reference.
Know all the I know, not New Girl. I know all the Disney movies.
So yeah, I am one of 8 children, actually. I've got 2 full siblings and 5 half siblings, but they're not half siblings to me. They're all full siblings. They're all just my siblings.
Did you all grow up together in the same house?
No. My oldest sister is 30, 2 this year. And then the youngest are twins that are turning 10 in September. Or they just turned 10 this last September. One of the 2.
So big range.
Yeah, very large range. I'm the 3rd oldest out of all of them. And I grew up mostly with my older two siblings and my younger sister in Allentown. We moved from South Carolina to Connecticut to Allentown. My parents were split after me. My parents divorced after they had me. Not because of that sounded wrong. Love y'all, but
because of you.
Not because of me, but the timing it happened.
Right.
So I grew up with my mom and my stepdad a lot. I spent a lot of time with my dad and his family out in Western New York. And they've got 4 kids out there. So yeah, not all together, but that's like a cool party trick. Like, yeah, I'm one of 8 kids. Everyone's like, whoa! That's a fun thing to pull out.
Yeah.
So grew up in a blended family. That's the phrase I'm looking for, blended family. Really enjoyed that. Played softball competitively growing up, so that plays into my story a lot later with like body image and like training to be an athlete kind of thing, and just not quite ever making the mark in my mind. So that plays a lot into my story as well in terms of body image. Went to college. I went to community college for 2 years that I can't support enough. I love community college, and I wish everyone had the brain to do that and go there.
Yay to no student loans.
Yay! I paid for my college in cash. Fun fact about Maddie, I have no college loans. I'm 24,
Boy.
Biggest blessing in my life. But and then I graduated with a 4-year degree from Bloomsburg. And I've been hopping around jobs, and I finally found one that I really love, and I'm really happy there. So happy to have some stability in my life. I live on my own. I live like 2 blocks from Mandy, which is so fun.
Yes.
And yeah, I live out here in the good old Lehigh Valley, good old town area. And yeah, that's kind of my journey to right here.
I want to just preface it too. We have a lot of our friends talking, but like your story is a really cool story, and I think it's so relatable for a lot of people. So that's more so, just because we're friends and we live right down the street from each other and everything, it's easy to bring people onto the podcast and talk about it. But I really think that people can really benefit from what you have to say and what you have to share. I know I can, and we can learn something. And we also, as females, just with the focus being like a body image thing, a lot of people can really relate to that. And males too. We'll probably talk about that at some point too.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we'll let you kind of share that. That's the focus of the day.
Yeah.
And where you're at now and how that's shaped, you said, the last 3 or 4 years. So take us through that.
Yeah, so I like to start right now because I think before I go even any further with the body image issues and things I've been through, I want to say that like it's not something I've conquered, and it's not like I'm on this show right now being like, yep guys, I fixed it, here's the cure to your body image insecurities and, you know, all that fun stuff. It's like, no, I still go through this, and like I went to pick out a pair of shorts last week and none of the shorts I had fit. So I had to wear bike shorts, you know, like, and this is something I still go through literally to this day. And I'm not sitting here saying I'm high and mightier than everyone else because I read this book one time or I did this one Bible study and it changed the way I looked at my body. Like, yeah, it did, but I still am a human and I'm still susceptible to the image issues that the world portrays to us.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. And that's a huge statement to mental health in general, is that no one ever conquers mental health.
Yeah,
because life changes and people change
concept.
and situations change, and so you can handle it based on the current context of your life, but it's not something that
give
will
it some
ever
time,
be
man. It come back. Tell you what, it comes back right around.
Circle back around on that one.
We'll put a pin in that one for now. So a core memory for me growing up was playing softball, and I remember an 8th grade softball field trip where we all went down to Florida and we had to wash our uniform, and everyone put their initials and their number inside of their like sliding shorts and their pants and their jerseys, so everyone knew whose was whose because they were all the same size, but I didn't have to put my initials in mine. And I at the time was just like, I'm not big, I just think everyone else is like weirdly small and like petite, but I think that was like a big I don't know, it sticks out to me how many years later. I think it was just a big moment in time for me that like, oh wow, I don't have to like mark this. Like everyone knows that this is my size right now. And for a long time, and still today sometimes, I have this like narcissistic perspective of it almost, of like, I'm not big, I just think everyone else is small. Because I only know my own body. So I think everyone else is like, no, you're too small. Like, you know, like that's weird. And that helps me sometimes, but it's also, like I said, very narcissistic and very self-centered. But yeah, so it started in like 8th grade-ish, like softball, realizing like, I wasn't built like everyone else. I didn't look like everyone else, which I was okay with for a while. And then high school hit, and that was really hard too, to get like sized for uniforms and stuff. And then like your pants rip, and it's like, oh yeah, well there go my pants. There's only one extra large left in the bin at the back of the locker room.
And to be fair, you're not a short
No, I'm also like 5'10".
Right.
Yeah. So I think that plays into it too. And like I have like someone who's been really, really influential in this area in my life has been my stepmom, because she's also like almost a 6 foot tall woman, and she's not built like a Barbie doll, and she doesn't want to be. She's like, no, this is who I am. This is the way I was made to be, and she's been such a great support for me. And like, no, you're this is just your size. Like you're just a big girl, and like not in like a whoa big girl. It's just like yeah, you're just built differently. But I think playing softball was very. Not traumatic, but like very influential, I guess, in the way I viewed it, because I was training for like hitting. Hitting was my main thing. I could run in the outfield, but like give me one ball and then I'm like winded for the day. And then so softball or like hitting was my main focus in softball. So you're training for weight and muscles, and you're trying to hit the ball as hard as you can, and then you get on base and they throw someone else in to run for you. Like I never even had to run the bases.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's called a pinch runner. It's pretty awesome.
Okay, interesting.
It was a pretty sweet setup. Yeah. So I would do that, and it was like, well, yeah, no wonder I'm bigger than everyone else. I'm squatting my weight right now. I'm squatting how much I weigh. So yeah, so softball definitely had a lot to do with it, and then. I'm an emotional eater. I'm an emotional comforter kind of person, like with food. So I think that had a lot to do with it too. I wasn't and still don't sometimes take care of my body the way I should. And bad things happen, and it's like, oh, you know what? I just need a coffee right now to make that feel better. And that's okay sometimes. But it's also not like an everyday coping mechanism. Like I can justify going to Dunkin' Donuts any day of the week. Good day? Oh man, good day. You know, let's celebrate. Let's go to Dunkin'. Bad day? Oh man, I really need this. Mediocre day? You know what? You know what will make this day even better? Like I can literally justify it in any situation. It's so bad.
Yeah.
So like the eating component of it, and then training for being an athlete was like just a lot all at once. And then I graduated college and just kind of like had this like soul searching, like, who am I? What am I doing? You know, blah, blah, blah. And a big part of growing up too for me was that I never dated boys. I didn't have my first kiss until I was 21 years old. And I didn't go to the prom because I didn't have a date. All my friends went. I went to like the pre and the post, but like I didn't do the dress thing. And I was like embarrassed to go by myself. So literally like the last week of my senior year of college, I started dating this guy I met on a dating app and dated for like a month. He moved away and I was like ooh and ah over him, you know, and now I'm like, oh man, like what a loser. Like not a loser, but just like, yeah, I didn't miss much. But I was really desperate and I was really searching. I was like, I need a boyfriend now. Like, and once I had that like little bit of external validation from a man, I was like, I need more of that. Like that is something I want to like cling on to for a long time. Which ended up down a pretty like abusive, unhealthy, toxic path that I ended up on in the fall of 2019. And that relationship lasted like a year and a half almost. And that had been the most, I don't want to say influential because it's not like a good influence, but the most effect on my self-esteem, the way I saw myself, the way I saw my body, and all of that fun stuff. So it took me a while. It took me a year and a half to see the patterns that were happening and see the emotional abuse that was happening, the verbal abuse. And again, like it was a hard time for me, but I also know that it wasn't totally this guy's fault. Like I'm not going to sit here and just trash talk this guy and be like, yeah, I was an angel. You know, I was sent down from heaven for this relationship. It's like, no, like I probably had my own wrongdoing and faults not probably, I know I did. So I just want to preface that with like that, I don't know, declarative there before I go any further. But yeah, there was one time we were out shopping. We actually made a Build-A-Bear, which was like really fun. 10 out of 10 recommend like an adult Build-A-Bear date. It was really fun. And he was like, yeah, like, I don't know, it just didn't cost, he never made one. So I was like, yeah, he's like, it didn't cost as much as I had expected or what I was anticipating. Like I got some money left over. And I was like, well, we could go next door to my favorite store and like, you know, just get me something nice, you know, go there, get me a dress or something. And he looked at me and he said, yeah, maybe, like, well, maybe I'll get it like a size smaller so it'll encourage you to lose weight. And I was like, you're right, that's a great idea. Like we should do that. That would encourage me if I just let it sit. And like, seriously, I was like, yeah, good idea. We didn't get anything because I didn't see anything I liked, but I was totally manipulated and fooled by it. I was like, wow, that's a great idea. Like, yeah, that's what these people do. That's what people online do. And I'm sure the Kardashians do something similar. You know, you gotta encourage yourself to lose the weight.
How long had you been together at that point?
That was a year and a half. That was at the end of our relationship.
Okay. So at that point, you had built up a trust with him, and it wasn't just a red flag that came the first week.
No, correct. It was towards the end. I was like, okay, he's just comfortable with me. He's being honest, and I called him out on it a little later, and he was like, I'm trying to help you. Like, I just know you're not happy with the way you look, and very manipulative. But yeah, so that's something that's like a big part of my story and my journey. Like having someone tell me that, and like removing myself now and being like, whoa, like total red flag.
And that was the first time that he had said or done anything like that?
No, that was not the first time. So there was also like instances where I would like say like, I'm hungry, like let's go get something to eat, or let's eat. We were like be at his house, let's eat. And he'd be like, are you really hungry? And I'm like, yeah, that's why I said it, man. Like, I'm starving. Also, like, I'm a big girl. Like, I need to eat. Like, not like anything crazy, but like, yeah, you can't just like not feed me.
You can't just not eat.
Yeah. And he had his own like weight loss journey, but I believe he had anorexia. I don't want to diagnose him or anything, but he just wouldn't eat. He was starving himself. Which
is equally as
unhealthy as overeating.
Right.
So that's what worked for him. He had lost a lot of weight. He like continued to do it, so that it was working for him. He was maintaining his weight. He was happy with it, which was like just really sad. It really broke my heart, and I tried to talk to him a few times about it. Like, no, that's not healthy. And he's like, no, you just need to stop eating. Like, that's what works. So yeah, there was a lot of that going on, and then this was one of the crazy. I never understood like suppressed or like, is it repressed or like something that you like don't realize until after, like you suppress something. I never realized that. I knew it was a thing, but I had never had one of those until I was at my sister's house actually, and I was talking through this relationship I was in. I was like, yeah, like, I don't know, like, I'm not happy. And I was just like, yeah, but like, I got to keep going, right? You know, and she's like, no, you don't. Like, you're not no, you really don't. And one of the things I had shared with her, and I think she started crying when I told her this, I said that I would drive up to his house a lot. He was like an hour away. And I would stop at my Dunkin' or my Starbucks, obviously. And I would pull over on the side of the road and dump the cup out. And I would put it in the trunk under like stuff so he wouldn't see it. Because if he got in the car and saw that I had coffee or a soda or literally anything besides water, he would be like, why did you get that? Like, why did you do that? Why did you do that to yourself? And that was just crazy. We were just talking and processing through things, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, that is so twisted that I did that I literally, like, was hiding cups like that. Like, like, that's not a healthy, it's not a green flag for sure. Right. So yeah, that was pretty, not pretty, it was very instrumental and just traumatic, I guess, for my self-image, my body image, how I viewed myself, and like all that kind of stuff. So I broke up with him, ended up in the behavioral health unit over here in the Lehigh Valley, and was there for a week. And it was a pretty trying thing to get out of that. I had been broken up with, I guess, like the kid that moved away, but this was my first like real breakup. It was more of a long-term relationship, a lot going on. There was talks about getting engaged and getting married and like actually like eloping. Like, I don't think anyone knows that. We were like, yeah, like, we don't need a big wedding. But like, I love people. Like, can you imagine me not having like a rager of a wedding? Like, that is so, yeah, my wedding's going to be at least 400 people. You are so right, Mandy.
My goodness.
It's going to be in like a cornfield.
I am too
budget.
Yeah. It's going to be in a cornfield, but there's going to be 400 people there.
And a really good DJ.
But yeah, 100%.
But going back to it's one of your first big relationships, so it makes sense why you were talking with, and I'm sorry, it was your sister?
Yeah, yep.
One of your sisters, saying, well, I just have to keep going. Being one of your first big relationships, like I can look back to one of my first big relationships in high school and saying, well, this is just what it is, right?
Yep.
And not knowing that you can put a line there.
Yeah.
And being an adult saying, well, this is the first time this has really happened to me, and so this is it.
Yeah.
And then having both of you on either ends of the spectrum of this disorder thinking about your bodies, it was this... It makes sense. Exactly. It makes sense why you felt stuck in it, but didn't realize that you were stuck in it, because that was your normal for both of you.
Well, and I think like it's not like I had like guys in my DMs waiting for me to break up with him. You know, it took me 22 years to get a first long-term relationship. Like, I don't have time to wait around for a second. You know, I don't have time for that. So I was like, yep, like I'm like, he likes me enough. That was good enough, and it wasn't like like I figured out. Yeah, so that was hard. Ended up in the behavioral health unit for a week. I've always struggled with like depression and anxiety and other stuff and mania, all that jazz. So that was a hard week, but I came out strong, and that was almost over a year ago. Yeah, that I ended the relationship and ended up there, but like came out stronger than ever and haven't looked back. No, it was last 2021. Oh, yeah. So, yeah. So, and it was funny. I actually talked at the high school ministry I serve at our church a couple weeks ago on body image, and I shared and it was great to like prepare for that and then prepare for this and be like, all right, this is my story. And I like called my sister, my other sister, the one night, and I was like, where do I even start with this, man? Like, how do you even like? It was such a good like therapeutic process for me to go through and like talk it through with someone who lives life with me, and like as an outsider seeing what she sees, and then me feeling what I feel and seeing what I see in myself, you know, like to have that like both sides of the spectrum communication was really good. But I had shared at high school that I was like, all right, I got out of the relationship, like I'm good to go, like body image is great, and it's like that was just the beginning of of healing the damage that was done, because the damage was just ended. And the waves were still coming, and like the thoughts were still in my head, and the phrases that were said, the things that were done were still I was still ruminating on.
It's like shrapnel.
Yeah.
So it's ticking up until the moment that the breakup happens, the bomb goes off, and then you have to clean up the mess.
Yep, the residue. Yep, all the residual effects.
And I think something really interesting that's different about body image with food is you can't get away from it. if you're an alcoholic or drug addict or something and it's not downplaying those, but you can work hard to eliminate that completely.
Food, but you can't eliminate food.
You need
will die.
food.
Yes.
You have to eat food. So I know as females, we all struggle with this to some degree, and males as well. But that's part of the process. Just talk us through where you're at now, or what has changed every time you go to eat. Do you say something to yourself? Because you can't avoid it.
Yeah.
Like, how can I have a healthy relationship with food?
Yeah.
And coffee and all the things,
it.
but also not hate yourself too. As you're processing in that healing journey, what does that look like?
Yeah. I have 2 cornerstone people in that relationship with food. It is my therapist and my dietitian. And my dietitian doubles as a therapist. She is a rock star.
Wow.
And I've never gone there. I've gone to her for probably 5-6 years now, like on and off, like through college and like coming home like once a year kind of thing. But I've had a working relationship with her for a while, and I've never gone in and she's been like, come on, Maddie, what did we talk about last time? Or you're up, the scale's up. What are you doing? It's always been like, yeah, like you got this. Like we're gonna start today and not tomorrow. We're gonna start right now. And what are we gonna do different? What have you been doing? What do you think's working? What do you think's not working? She is like a number one supporter for me, and I wish I could see her like weekly, but I can't afford that. And I don't think she'd want to see me weekly. She's like, that's not how this works. That's not how dietitians work, really.
Right.
But she's been very crucial in my relationship with food, as is my therapist, who is like, hey, like, have you checked in with your dietitian recently? And like, what's going on there? And like, okay, like why is this happening? But to answer your question with like, you know, like the actual, what does my relationship with food look like? It's like, it's still a work in process, and it's always going to be a work in progress or process, whatever. Because it is so tricky, and I think it's so hard that we all like strive for this perfect body, but like you will never perfect the art of eating. You're always going to be eating something with sugar in it, something with fat. Even if you have like a clean steak with no sauce, or you know, like all that stuff, like there's still like imperfections in it. It's still just food. So I think like it's so hard to like have that mindset of like I need to like build this perfect body. It's like, no, you need to cherish the body you're in and nourish it, but also know that like for me, for example, like sometimes nourishing my body is not physiological, it's more of an emotional thing. Like when I'm having a bad day, you know, sometimes I will stop at Dunkin' still and get a coffee, but then there's days where I'm like, no, I think going home and taking a nap might solve it, or just like opening my Bible and reading, that might help me today more than a $4 or $5 coffee.
Just having different things on your list that aren't ingestible.
Yes, yes, and like coping mechanisms I talk about a lot in counseling with my therapist is like, okay, yeah, it's like going to get coffee is a good coping mechanism, but maybe that's lower on the list. Maybe we start with like deep breaths, then we go to music, then we go to like talking to a friend. Then we go, you know, we go down the coping mechanism list until we get to like, all right, nothing's worked. Go get yourself an iced coffee. Like treat yourself. Like go get it. You know. But
Because
you go down the
like,
list.
Your iced coffee is not like crack. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So
Correct.
it is a legal thing that you are able to attain.
People are still addicted to food though. You know what I mean? Like that's a very real addiction, and yeah, that's something that like, yeah, it's not like actual hardcore street drugs, but it's still equally addictive, and not equally, but still can be.
Like I said, it's something you can't avoid. You can't just say, exactly. I'm not going to eat.
I'm not going to eat.
You know,
yeah, that doesn't
you
work.
have to eat something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. I know for myself, as I'm also tall, and I was actually talking with someone the other day about the comments that people have always made, because my daughter is also very tall, and everybody comments on how tall she is. And all she says is, I'm just, you know, she just looks at me and I said, God made you that way. You're beautiful, that you're tall. And
so
for
good.
me, even as a 30-year-old woman, I still struggle with being tall because I've been told my entire life, you're tall, you're tall, you're tall, you're tall. But so even that's a body image issue, even though it's not a weight thing.
Oh, 100%
it's still
valid.
A dysmorphia of my brain of why am I so tall? Why am I this tall? I'm taller than a lot of men. I'm tall, you know, but I'm not that tall. I'm 5'10" too.
Yeah.
So, but having that being told to you and now seeing it being told to my daughter is really hard, because I already see the dysmorphia turning in her mind as a tall person because, oh, you're only going to kindergarten? You look like you're in first or second grade. And when you say that to a small child, that already starts to shape their view of who they are. And even, there was a couple comments made for her. And I think I'm seeing the view of how I view myself. We're watching how she's being told things. And there's certain jokes like, oh, you got to feel that big belly, and it's so playful.
No.
And she came to me the other day and she said, Mommy, I don't want a big belly. I want to be skinny. And that broke my heart. She's 5.
So young to be
insane.
And at 5,
even aware of those words.
Right. And she asked, why do they say that? And it's hard to explain to a 5-year-old the joke of, you just got to fill your belly, fill it up, got to keep growing and getting bigger. But the way that you say it to a small child, she's already twisting it and seeing it. And I just think that's how the world is. It's that, like you said, Barbie is super skinny, and just American culture is all
praised.
About thin,
Yeah.
hourglass, perfect body, perfect shape figure. I mean, with Botox and with weight loss and even like Spanx or something that's
so true.
Make yourself look skinnier, hold it all in, that whole thing. And I think we do it naturally as Americans and just living here, and that's the view of our culture. Obviously, other cultures value larger women, and there's all those differences that you can get into. But with Americans, and when you do that, and then you don't realize how quickly that shapes your mind as a female specifically right now we're talking. But just look comments like that. Do you really need that? Like you're saying, he said, do you really
think you're hungry?
It's not, he's not outwardly saying, hey, I think you're fat.
Right.
And so it's that slight twist of words to a 5-year-old, to a 24-year-old, to a 30-year-old of this is morphing my body and how I was created. So I'm curious for you how you're a believer. So you've talked about that. Like, how do you view that? I think I'm learning too. How do I view who I am and how God built me? As like you said, you're taller and you're just a bigger woman, and I think you're beautiful. I think you're a beautiful woman, but like, how do you put those two together?
Yeah, I didn't for the first 23 and a half years of my life. But I had one of my friends was like, oh, there's this like really great book that we should read together, and she like sent it to me. And at first the book is called Breaking Free from Body Shame. And it's something that this friend and I had talked a lot about. And I was like, whoa, like, yeah, let's read this. And then I realized it was from a Christian author, and it was from a faith perspective of why this is a spiritual battle and not just like a worldly American issue. And it's so stupid to like say it, but I'd never thought to join the two. In my mind, this is below God's pay grade. He doesn't care about the body I'm in. Like and also like Jesus doesn't understand. Like my butt needs to be big, my boobs need to be big, but everything else needs to be small. Like Jesus doesn't get this, like he doesn't get me. But it's like
he didn't have body images.
Yeah.
Clearly says he wasn't a really good looking man, so he was just very average.
But anywho, like all of that to say that like it's so silly to say now because it's like now I'm like, yes, it is. Like anyone that's like, yeah, it's not a body, like it's not a God issue. I'm like, yeah, it is. Like it totally is. But yeah, we read this book and it like literally it's probably my favorite. It's probably the most transformational book I've ever read in my life. Called? Breaking Free from Body Shame by Jess Connolly. And she's an amazing author. She is a rock star woman. And I remember seeing the book like on the back and she had like a little like bio and like a little picture of herself. And I'm like, this girl's too skinny to write a book about this, which is like another form of like skinny shaming.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it took me a while to realize that, and like talking through this book with my friend and like going through everything, and I'm like, oh man, like that is like not cool that I did that, and like checking my own heart and being like, you don't have to be fat to have body image issues. Like you don't have to be a girl either. Like we've talked about before this. Like, yeah, this isn't just for women. This is literally for everyone. Like old, young, fat, skinny, male. Like I could say anything and it's like, yep, you might have body image issues. And it's not about weight always. It's something you were saying, height, But yeah, I read this book, and one of the biggest takeaways for me was identifying like my own struggles with body image. Like I've always struggled with it, but it's easy to say like, I have anxiety. I have depression. Like, what is wrong with my body image? Like, what is, like, the phrase I can use? And I don't have the exact verbiage that she used, but what I took away from it and the extent of it was body dysmorphia. And body dysmorphia is an obsessive focus on a perceived flaw in your own appearance. And there's 2 keywords there. It's obsessive focus. Just because you perceive a flaw in yourself doesn't mean you have body dysmorphia. It's an obsessive focus, and it's a perceived flaw. So it's like... something I think of is like, man, I have too many stretch marks and they're in all the wrong spots. I could never wear a bathing suit in front of my friends. I would never want to do that to anybody or myself, any of that stuff. And it's an obsessive focus. Like I am like terrified to go to the beach with my friends this summer, and I pray no one's parents have a pool around here because I don't want to do that. Or even the other day, I was like, maybe I get one of those like swim dresses. And it's like, why do I feel like I need to cover myself up? Like I can't imagine that Kristen would go, oh my gosh, have you guys seen Maddie's stretch marks? Like, no one talks about it that way, but it's my obsessive focus with it. Right. And it's a perceived flaw. Like, nowhere in scripture does it say, oh, stretch marks? Oh, you're going to hell for that one, man. Like, no, it's just like, it's a perceived flaw. Like, I think it looks awful, but like people that have children have stretch marks. Maybe it's actually like a sign of glory and like honor to God that you're using your body and you're having children, or, you know, whatever the reason you have those are. And also like small people have stretch marks. I didn't know that until fairly recently. I'm like I saw it on someone. I'm like, they're too small. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. I'm like, girl boss is right here. Like, like I never would have thought. Like, it just means you're growing too fast, you know, for your skin, which isn't always a bad thing.
That's an interesting thing that you bring up, though, because about it affecting your life in such a way, because that can be just as negatively affecting your life as someone who's agoraphobic and is so afraid to go outside because what if it rains and it's raining daggers and like it will change your plans, it will change your ability to interact with the world around you. And I think that a lot of people just flat out don't take body image concerns seriously, and they brush them off. They're just too sensitive, they're just this, but this is a perfect example of how one perception of a flaw can completely derail
I've
a
literally
social life, a family life, interactions, everything. And if anybody listening is not taking body image seriously, just think about that for a second. Think about one thing. Maybe you think one thing about your body is so wrong that it affects your ability to go to work. It affects your ability to go see your family. Just like take that in for a second, because that just...
It affects your ability
it's
to
huge.
swim with your family, beach trip, like you said. I mean, I totally relate to that because after having a child, your body is different.
It's not bad. No one said, oh, you had a child, you're ruined.
But there's definitely been times where I was hesitant to get into a pool because of the way that I looked or the way that my stomach looked now after having a child. It's not, I don't have beautiful abs. I don't have a flat belly, you know, it's like, and I definitely have not done things because I was not confident. Bathing suit shopping is like
the worst.
The worst thing in the entire
wretched.
world. It is horrific. And plus, you know, they got all those bright lights in the fitting rooms, and it's just, it points everything out. And you're just like,
you ever been in those new Target fitting rooms? Oh man, there's like
so
spotlights
bright,
in there.
Oh my gosh. And I'm like, okay, we don't need to focus on all of these details. You know, a little dimmer would be a little nicer, please.
Mood lighting,
but at the same time, why would it be better? Like, no, Mandy, your body is perfect and beautiful the way that it is. So it's like, if there's like a bright sun, perfect day on it, it looks awesome. If it's cloudy, it equally looks awesome. You know, it's that, and I think it's so hard, and this is something I've been working on, is like that self-deprecating talk of like, oh, just turn down the lights. You know, it's funny. And I grew up around self-deprecating humor. I think it rocks. I think it's so funny to be the first one to make fun of yourself before everybody, because you think everyone else is going to, but no one else does it until you do it. And no one else thinks it until you say it, and then they're like, oh, well, Maddie makes fun of herself, so I can make fun of her. No one's ever going to do it before you. And that's something that I'm trying to work on, is like that self-deprecating humor. Like a couple weeks ago, we were talking about one of our friends like said something, and I don't know, it's this big elaborate story, and I was like, yeah, they're just like blamed it on the fat girl next to her. And the guy I was with was like, why did you say that? And I'd never had anyone call me out like that. And I was like, well, it's true. You know, I was like, it's true. You know, I'm 200 plus. Like, of course they're going to blame it on the fat girl next. And they were like literally no one, like, why do you, like, no. And it was such a loving, like, call out for me. And ever since then, I've been like, oh my gosh, like if I'm talking about myself and my body this way, like, what does it tell people? Like, what if there's someone bigger than me? How does that make them feel? You know, and even if it's someone smaller than me, maybe they see themselves as bigger than me. You know, whatever the insecurity is, it's like so not cool. And I'm trying to get better about it, and it's so hard because I grew up around it. And even just in today, it's just funny to like make fun of stuff, and like especially when it's yourself, because you can't make fun of other people. That's not cool. Memes, man, love a good meme. Love a good meme.
They are fantastic. The
yes,
internet
but
rocks.
90% of them are making fun of stuff, and it's like, it's really not cool to like. I don't even like. I remember like the show Honey Boo Boo. Like, you remember how funny that was?
Yeah.
How we like that would never fly in 2022, and like I'm so glad it won't. But like I remember watching it, being like, "Yo, Honey Boo Boo!" Like it's like no, like that's a child. Like, can you imagine like the issues that girl went through growing up? Like
probably is still dealing with,
and probably is still dealing with the ramifications of today, years later. Like, come on. So yeah, and I try. And something else I talked about at high school a couple weeks ago was like people first language and complimenting people and not the way they look. And that's something I'm really big, because like even a couple weeks ago I went to a wedding and I had a bunch of people be like, "You looked so great at the wedding." And it's like, it's a compliment, and they're being sincere, and I'm not saying like taking it the wrong way, but at the same time it's like, why am I only being praised when I spent time on my hair and my makeup and I bought $50 dress at Goodwill? You know, it's like no, like I look just as hot now and sitting in my bike shorts in Mandy's living room than I did at that wedding. And
hooray for comfy, by the way.
Oh yeah, comfy vibes only on the Rocky Road podcast.
Right, that's why it's not videoed.
That's why.
And the only time we looked really good was when it was like before a Good Friday. We looked good, and we didn't take a picture.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we were all
Rookie
dressed up,
mistake.
put together.
Humans.
Yeah.
But again, I got a lot of compliments, and it's like, yeah, that is like, thank you, that does validate me, but it reinforces the idea that I have to have makeup on to look good.
I'm only good occasion pretty.
Yes. Yes.
That's such an interesting thing that I'm trying to remember what I said, because I know you were like, "Guys, should I buy this dress?" And like, we're voting. I'm trying to think. I was like, what did I say, and was it hurtful? Because I can't.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I don't remember. But
looking back at every reaction you have and complimenting people, because I've heard about this. And speaking of Reagan and different kind of perceptions of things, I've heard a lot of people say, when I compliment my daughter, I say, "I can tell that you worked really hard to find that answer. Not you're so smart." Or, you know, oh my goodness, you all of your colors match today. You picked that outfit out very thoughtfully, not you look so pretty. And just things like that. And even as adults saying, "Wow, Maddie," I almost called you Mandy. "Maddie, you look so vibrant today."
Yeah.
And just like noticing the personality inside the body, because the personality is in and around the entire room. The body's just the casing.
Yeah. And it's like compliments like, "Mandy, I love being around you. Like, you bring out the best me when I'm around you." Kristen, I don't know you that well, but you still bring out the best me when I'm around you. And I feel like I know you better than I really do. You know, like compliments like that. And like, not even but just like speaking truth over people in like a way of like, I love you more than the way you look. And I think that's so abnormal for America today. And it like once you see it, it like drives you bananas. Like once you can't unsee it. Yeah. And now like all the time, like I'll post stuff and like people be like, "You look so pretty," and it's like, I don't want you to see how, like, yeah, I know I look good. I feel confident in who I am sometimes. And like, yeah, I know I look good, but like, this was a fun memory and I wanted to share it on Instagram. This was a fun night, fun memory, whatever it was. And it's like, I'm not fishing for compliments, but a lot of people are. And I used to do it. I'm not here to shame anyone that does that, did it, will do it, whatever. Like, there are some weak times where I'm like, "Man, I look good in this picture. I'm going to post that." You know, it's like,
post it on a day that I feel like I need the positive.
I'm going to post it on a Friday night when or Sunday night. Everyone's at home scrolling Instagram, you know, like your prime time Instagram posting.
True.
So it's so true. It's like, the more that you compliment and reinforce the idea that you look good when you X, Y, and Z. It's like, no, man, that's not it.
We so naturally go to the physical appearance because that's the way that we're wired. I mean, even when we look at things, that's the first thing we do. So you
look at someone.
You're observant. And so that's your first image, your first thought, let alone, like you said, it's just a casing because there's a soul inside there that is beautiful in whatever way it is, in whatever broken way, however it is, that's, the body is who it is. And I think I've learned too, as I've gotten a little older, that there's always going to be someone bigger than you, and there will always be someone smaller than you.
Yep.
So you will never achieve the perfect form because there's always someone to compare yourself to. And that is so true about musicians too, as music people.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, my brain, my inner critic has just, it is brutal because of being a trained classical musician with the specific way of having to do that is so hard. And then you take that and everything has to be perfect and everything has to be completely in tune and so specific. And then you realize there's always someone better than you and there's always someone worse than you. And it's just
on both of those sides, there's someone better and someone worse who doesn't care. And there's someone better and worse who really does care.
Yeah.
So there's so many different facets to all of this. My brain is going wild right now, and I wish we had I'll probably talk to you personally about that.
Just shoot me a text, Kristen.
Absolutely.
We'll have our own
DM me.
What? All right, it is 555. No,
boys.
My social security number is.
Oh my goodness, 1.
Yeah,
7.
But I think I do have a question.
Yeah.
And this is not that this is intentional, but I think sharing your kind of advice for people who are witnessing someone else going through similar things that you have done. What is something that maybe would have helped you to get out of that relationship sooner, or to recognize your inner beauty and outer beauty simultaneously?
Yeah.
Because yes. But what is something that I wish I would have heard this, because you can never say those sentences because in the moment.
I said that earlier today about something. Yeah. I was like, I'm not a believer of going back in the past. And what would you tell you? It's like, no, man, it happened. Yeah. God had a plan for all of it to be where I am today. Yeah, it sucked.
100%.
But look where I am today. I would never go back and change a thing in my life.
We said the same thing in my episode where I said, I didn't see it. So someone could have said that to me.
You still wouldn't have.
Nah, you're nuts.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
I said the same thing in mine too. Nothing would have really changed that.
Yeah.
It's really a common thread between all of this.
But if you're seeing someone walk through it, what do you do?
If I'm seeing a friend of mine who I think is having this struggle and they maybe not open, they may not be open with me about it, what's something I can do to support them?
Yeah. Well, something you shouldn't do, which is what I did with my ex at the time, was I think you have disordered eating. You should, I don't, because they think it's normal, whatever, whether they're bulimic, anorexic, have body dysmorphia, are insecure about how tall they are, whatever it is, they don't see it the way that you might. So I think it's important to not just go in and be like, hey, you have disordered eating, you should see a doctor. It's no, I'm fine. You're weird. It goes back to what I said earlier about my body being normal. Everyone else is weird. Everyone lives in their own body, in their own minds. So don't do that, because I tried it and it didn't work, and I had other people tell me that too, hey, how's your relationship with your food? And I'm like, I'm fine. Can you worry about yourself? Stay out of my business and my body, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So don't do that. Learn from me. But what you should do, I would just, like I said, I would encourage more of the person compliments, person focused. Communication, not complimenting. It's not not to say or I don't know. It's hard. I think I have more ideas of what not to do.
That's
than
totally
what
fine
to
too.
do.
That's exactly. We have another episode where this is what not to say to someone who's grieving. So I want to hear the what not to do, because that sometimes is more helpful.
You know what's really not helpful? Wow, it really looks like you're losing weight. Which and again, 90% of the time it comes from a great place, but then there's that 10% that I take and say, oh, so I looked huge before this? You're telling me I looked fatter than I looked right now and no one told me? Or if you did tell me, how dare you tell me? There's no right way to say that.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't focus on that. And also, you don't know how people are losing weight. Just because you're losing weight doesn't mean you're doing it healthy. A lot of people starve themselves. A lot of people are on drugs. A lot of people have a lot of unhealthy coping mechanisms for that.
Or some people don't eat when they're stressed, like myself.
Yes, we're the opposite.
When you look really thin and drawn out and skinny,
you're reinforcing that.
Skinny, you're stressed.
You're
in a bad place.
Yeah,
some people
absolutely.
do look better filled.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just the way that you carry yourself.
It's so funny too to see like I do this all the time, not all the time, but like I'll often like go back and like my Google Photos and I'm like, wow, like remember when I thought I was fat then? And like look at me now. Like you go back and you're like, the grass is always greener when you look back on pictures and you're like, wow, then I had body dysmorphia, like whew, what I'd give to look like that again, But I think that's like, it's obviously so damaging to do that, but I also think it's important to like understand, where am I going with this?
What not to do.
Yeah, what not to. I'm trying. I just had it.
It'll come back.
It'll come back. But
looking back on the photos.
Looking back on photos.
Comparing.
Oh, I know where I was going with this. There we go. Got it. Thank you. Thank you, Jesus. Like looking back on those photos and seeing like I looked better and I like physically I think I looked better. But like if you saw the condition of my heart and my mind and my soul at that time, oh my gosh. Like, yeah, I'm probably 70 pounds heavier than I was in college. But like, man, I got the Lord now. Like I am saved by grace through faith, and like that is like not going anywhere. I have the best community of people around me. I'm in a job that I love. I'm working my tail off doing what I love. It's like it's so different. It's like, yeah, and I'm also like probably a lot of like many sizes larger than I was then, and that's okay. Like it's not indicative of like your current life state. Like people think, like you were saying, like just because like you look thin doesn't mean you're doing well. Just because you're gaining weight doesn't mean you're not doing. Maybe you're pregnant. I don't know. Maybe you have a health condition. I don't know. But yeah, it's so not indicative of where you are. And I try to like talk myself through that when I get in that like mindset of like, oh, like if I was just under this, if this is my goal weight, like then I'll have everything put together. But it's like, no, like this is exactly where God needs me to be right now. And like, it's so, and like as someone who's always been bigger, when I had like people that were thinner than me be like, oh, like give me advice and like tell me how to eat, how to train, what to do, how to love myself. It's like, dude, you don't get it. You don't get me. So like part of, not like I'm like, oh, I'm staying here for the people. I'm staying 200 plus for the people. But it's like, no, it's like I am who I am. And I want to be an encouragement to other people that, yeah, I can be this weight and love myself just as much as you can be your weight and love yourself or whatever it is. Like you don't have to earn it.
If you do lose weight or gain weight, it doesn't mean that you love yourself any more or less. Correct. It doesn't mean that you weren't, because I've seen that too, where celebrities are they're like, oh, I don't even know the terms that they use, but similar to like, I love my body, I love, I love being X, Y, and Z, and then they go and maybe lose 100 pounds, and they're like, well, were you lying to us then? Did you not love yourself as much as you love yourself now? And things like that. Just because you are this number or this size or this weight, whatever, today, and that changes in 6 months, that does not mean that you are not being completely true to yourself and your current state.
You are able to lose weight. Like your body will fluctuate and change. And I always use the phrase like your body in this season. Like because it is going to change. Like you will have children maybe. You might, you know what I mean? Like you will be in a relationship where maybe he's a health nut and he goes to the gym all the time and then you guys start exercising and doing hikes. Maybe it's the opposite, like
maybe you just, like
it's a body for a season.
Like right now, I'm loving the outdoors, so I'm walking miles and miles a day.
Yes, that is awesome.
And it's exhausting.
Yeah.
But if a couple pounds come off, it's going to be because I'm spending so much more time outside.
And you're happy doing it. And that's something my dietitian and I talk about a lot too, is like, because like it is a balance of food and exercise. So she's like, all right, like what's your exercise? And I'm like, I hate going to the gym. It's too much planning. I have to have all the outfit. I have to have my blow dryer. Gotta have my shampoo. You know what I mean? Like gotta have outfits. Like what if I forget my belt for work? Then I have to go. It's
like round color socks.
Yeah. You gotta have black socks. It's this huge thing, and it's so like not my style. And so she's like, okay, what do you like to do? I'm like, I love walking. Like going to like the parks around here. Yes, let's walk. Well,
please
DM me later.
Okay.
Mandy, you can be in on it too.
Okay.
We can all go for walks. But yeah, she's like, make mindful movement. Like it doesn't have because I'm on my feet all day for my job. I'm not necessarily walking, but I'm standing on my feet all day, and like that's doing something better than sitting down. But she's like, make mindful movement. Like go walk if it's 1 mile. Great. Like I almost walked here tonight, then I had laundry, so I was like, that's Side note for everyone listening, my laundry is downstairs right now in Mandy's washer. So
it's a communal wash.
It really is. Yeah. But yeah, it's like it's so important to do the exercise that you want to do. And I read this in the Breaking Free from Body Shame book as well, Jess Connolly says that she exercises because she loves her body, not because she hates it. It's not a punishment. Yeah. And I think that's something as a society that we've like twisted. It's like and it's so hard when people are like, oh yeah, I really went all out last night. I got to go to the gym today and like burn it off. It's like, no, like, yes, it's that shame. And it's like, no, like I love you just the way you are. And God loves you even more the way that you are. Like you don't have to punish yourself for eating and fueling your body. You know, it's like,
it also comes from the motivation too. And I'm reading another book right now, and I'm pretty sure I heard that author on a podcast. Now that you said her name a couple times, I'm pretty sure I heard a podcast, but basically saying that if you are making those decisions in the light of Christ and saying, okay, am I doing this because it will help me to further make my body what it needs to be so I can do my mission?
Oh, yeah.
So saying, if I am in this state and if I am unable to do X, Y, and Z because I wasn't nourishing my body in the way that is most effective, basically. Right. I'm trying not to use like positive, negative terms.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm so aware of language.
That's so good. No, that's so great.
But it's an interesting thought to say, is this decision for me or is it for him? Mm-hmm. And I can guarantee
him with a capital H.
Yes, him with a capital H. Yes.
Is it for lowercase him? Is it because I want validation from everyone around me?
It should never be
Check
for
your
lowercase.
Yeah, true. Any girl listening right now, I'm kidding. Red flag, you know.
Way feminist right now.
We want that H capital, ladies.
Oh my gosh.
But yes, 100%. It's all about who are you doing it for? It's your heart behind it. Like I have friends that have really great hearts behind their exercise. I have some friends that I'm really concerned for and I pray a lot for. Yeah. That I'm like, wow, like I just don't know if this is
what are they
healthy.
trying to battle down?
Yeah. What is the purpose behind this? And you know, it comes down a lot to social media. I spend a lot of time on social media and it's so hard to like, you know, everyone's got a fitness account now and like it's supposed to be encouraging and helpful, but I read it and I'm like, man, I just got off of work, I just had a #1 deluxe sandwich with a milkshake, you know what I mean, and it does the opposite for me. It doesn't encourage me. I'm like I feel very less than but I know that that's not their heart behind it either. They're not trying to make everyone feel bad.
Some of them are.
That's true. Some of them might.
I knew my heart was better when I deleted that account because that was one that little H he told me that I should start to help encourage myself while I was
hold yourself accountable, right?
Yeah. So I knew that I was getting better mentally when I deleted that, and then I started unfollowing anybody who made me feel that I was not doing enough. And that was a whole story. In my story, it was the body image and feeling like I was worthy of his little H. Love. We're gonna keep saying this is gonna be a thing. Little H,
little H or capital. But this is a fun side note about me is I have an Instagram, Facebook rule. If I see you in public and I would not be like, oh my gosh, hey, how are you? I will not follow you on social media. Yeah. Because why do I need to see what you're posting if I see you in public and I will not say hello? That's my rule.
Yeah, that's a great rule.
Because I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, like, you like see people, you're like, oh, you follow so-and-so, you know them? Nah, we graduated together with like 1,000 other kids. It's like, okay, great. That means nothing. Like, you don't know them, you know? Right. But, yeah.
And I think
keeping it genuine.
Social media is a whole other episode.
That's part 2, actually. I'm coming back next week, and we're doing part 2.
Part 2 social media and what it's done to us as a society with filters and with appearances and all of that. So it's even just one of those.
Maddie, pick me.
I got my hand raised now for everyone that can't see me. I'm like, oh,
I got one.
But I think body, for you specifically, yours is focused on weight and the way that you looked and the numbers on the tags of your pants and your shirts and all of that is a huge thing. But it's a big topic. Like we talked briefly about height, but eyes and ears and the way your nose looks and the way your arms look and your shoulders. And I think for girls, we have this society that paints Disney princesses and Barbie dolls and everybody's always fit. I mean, look how thin Elsa is. I mean, unreal. She's like a toothpick. I mean, how is that? and she's not even talking about her weight or her appearance. It's just the way they made her and designed her as Disney. But I think even for men, they have this view of Prince Charming and Ken and, Barbie and Ken and their view of it and the way that they should look. And so some men that are just naturally thinner feel more insecure. Some men that are bigger talk about like, oh, it's a beer belly or it's this. I mean, it's so many things, and body dysmorphia and body image issues are so equal in men. Gyms, who's got the biggest muscles and who's got the biggest shoulders and who can bench the most and all of that. And that's all well and good. Yes, take care of your body. Be healthy and nourish it.
But it's the obsessive, remember earlier when we defined body dysmorphia, it's the obsessive focus with it.
Right. And a lot of people don't know where that line is.
Yeah. It's a very hard, I struggle with that line a lot. It's like, is this just something I just don't like about myself? Or is this part of like, is this a dysmorphic thought that I'm having? But back to you said about the one thing when I had my hand raised, sorry. It's very, very classroom of me. I last summer was at the beach with some girlfriends, and I was like on the beach, and I was like, I got my new swimsuit, and I was like, oh, like take a picture of me. Like not like a thirst trap, just like I'm at the beach, like hair toss, like having a fun day, And then like I took it, I ran under the umbrella, to like look at the picture, and like I hated everything about it. And I photoshopped it, I fixed it. I took my stomach in a little bit, and it wasn't anything too crazy. No one called me out for it. I don't know if anyone ever knew I did it, but it made me feel better. People would have liked it regardless. Now, like if I would have posted the real one, everyone would be like, oh great, like have fun at the beach, like enjoy your summer, like love the suit, whatever. But it made me feel better, and at the time I'm like, so what's the harm in that? Like no one was looking over my shoulder when I did it. Everyone was minding their own business, and it was just enough that it was believable, but I just wanted to make myself look a little better. I just wasn't quite right. And like now I'm like, wow, that was so damaging. So I deleted the app. I refused to re-download it. It's great for editing, but but it's a temptation to be I can just fix it easy. It's very quick. It's pretty idiot proof on the app. So, but yeah, it's very, very damaging to distort what God has made and claimed as good. And I think it's so important to remember that God is a purposeful, careful God. It's not like an assembly line of people, and it's like, yep, you just go down, and then you get your arm, and get your leg, and get your nose. It's like, no, God handcrafts each of us individually to look exactly the way that we are, and He doesn't make mistakes. And it's so important to remember that when you're about to Photoshop or even like the right filter. There's some pictures where I'm like, man, I just want to put a black and white on this. Like, let's just not get into the colors right now. Right. Like that hides a little better in black and white. And it's like, no, like I am exactly the person that God has made me to be today in this moment right now, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and again, it's that line, because filters are also fun.
Yeah,
changing different colors and shades, and making them look pretty and making them look colorful or black and white. Like it's all cool. Like there's nothing wrong with that. It's the heart behind it. Like,
absolutely.
It's where is it coming from in your heart? Is this because it's a body image issue, or is it because I just really want a black and white photo and I just think it's cool to look
my
like
aesthetic,
that.
whatever it is. Yeah, great. Do
whatever
it.
it is. So it's the heart behind it. I think it's a huge conversation, and we could talk forever about this. Yes. And so, we can get into all kinds of details, because even when you're saying with social media and the way that, like, these video image alterers and everything that you can go into.
So easy.
You think of the paintings from 150 years ago, they didn't have that. So how was body image different 150 years ago than
they have like now? Those like I don't know if Renaissance is the right word, but like those old time pictures of like women with like guts, and it's like, and no one was like, oh my gosh, can you believe that Michelangelo painted that? It's like, yeah, man, that woman's hot. Like that woman looks great up there. It's like, yeah, no one. This is I think it has been like a life problem for people back then, but it was totally different than it is now.
Right. Yeah.
And even like our parents, they grew up they didn't have social media, so like they probably have their own stuff, but it's a whole different ballgame with social media and digital editing and all that kind of crazy stuff.
So it's such a big conversation, and we could go on forever and ever about it.
And we will.
No. But if you could just say even one or two sentences, how would you summarize either some kind of encouragement or your journey, or what would you tell somebody if they said, what was your biggest takeaway of this process? And like, we know it's ongoing. You've said that.
Yeah.
What would you tell them?
I think I would emphasize the fact that it is a process, because you said that. You were like in this process, what has been whatever. I think like it will never end. And every day I wake up and I tell myself that the tag is on the inside. No one else sees what size these pants are. And it's a decision I make every day, but some days I don't make that decision. And I'm like, nope, I want to wallow in my own weight today. I want to be sad about it. And I want to pout around and complain about it to someone. But I think it's important. My biggest takeaway is that it's a decision to love your body, accept it the way that God has it, but also nourish it and take care of it and honor it and worship God through it. But yeah, just the fact that it's a process and you're not just going to listen to this podcast and be like, oh, Madi fixed me. I read that book she recommended, man, that did the trick.
Good to go.
Yeah, it's no, this is just the beginning of a conversation about this. And it sometimes I get overwhelmed and I get kind of frustrated being I'm never going to fix everyone. Not everyone is going to see the fact that complimenting me at the wedding isn't beneficial. Not every, and I get overwhelmed by it sometimes, but it's no, all it takes is one person. I want one person to listen to this and be like, huh, never thought of that.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
And even if it's just Kristen right here being man, my head is spinning. Even if that's it, oh my gosh, this is so worth it. That's literally all it takes. And even just talking through my own story and processing through things has been so beneficial for me. So even if there is no one else, it's man, I benefited so much from this. And this reinforced my stance on my body, my belief in God, and my trust in God, and my faith in Him and what He has made for me.
Yeah, it's so good. And it's body image is just something you struggle with at 5, with what Reagan had
breaks
said
my
the other
heart.
day.
Yeah,
and then people that are 80 and they have aged and you look different. You just look different.
Yeah.
You do. Your skin's wrinkly, you have white hair, whatever it is. And just through that whole course, that whole process, any stage of your life, there's something that you can learn from this, I think. So, super grateful that you shared with us and being open and honest. And that's why we're here, to tell stories and to share. Like you said, it's healing for you to share about it and your point of view.
So we're riding on the rocky road. What's on your playlist?
Ooh.
What did you say?
We're riding on the rocky road.
Riding on the rocky road. We're all in that little car together.
Get me
Riding dirty.
Yo, 2 very different songs, but I'm here for both of them. They see me rolling. They hate it.
Oh,
that was totally the millennial, and both of us totally just came out.
Hey, I'm here for it.
Whoops.
I love it. So I was debating this because I knew this question was coming up, and my go-to gut answer was what if I just told him Cheeseburger in Paradise, Jimmy Buffett style? Can you imagine? I talk about body image, and then I'm but honestly, Cheeseburger in Paradise is a banger, and that song is so good.
And honestly, if you were in Paradise,
I'd be eating a cheeseburger. You bet your bottom dollar, Mandy. But so that's my first. It's a playlist. You didn't say a song. You said what would be on my playlist.
What's on your playlist?
So I have 2 songs on my playlist. Cheeseburger in Paradise by Jimmy Buffett.
On
Shout
repeat
out
for 24 hours a day.
it's on a loop.
Great song.
Shout out to my dad who introduced me to that song when I was probably way too young to understand what it meant. I don't even know what it means. Is there a metaphor for it? Is it literally just about eating cheeseburgers?
I mean, I always think it's literally just cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
We'll have to look into this.
You
Stay tuned for part 2.
describe medium rare with mustard be nice.
Yeah,
come on, it's a bit.
True. Maybe it's a literal song.
We'll read the actual lyrics and
we'll dissect it and then we'll cut this part out. And we're it's a very sexual song.
We do not want to do that. Keep this rated G. Come on.
It's very inappropriate, wildly inappropriate. But my other playlist song is "She Used to Be Mine" from the musical Waitress. A lot of people don't know that I really like musicals. I grew up around my older brother, my younger sister, and my older sister is a theater professional as well. Not in the acting component, but in other areas. So I grew up around musical theater, and I really love it. And I think storytelling is so beautiful, as we see on this podcast every week. And I love music. So yeah, that's probably my go-to. It's a very deep song about someone she used to be and where she thought she was going and then ended up totally switching paths. And I can't relate to all, it talks about like being a pregnant wife and being abused by your husband. It's a very deep, very intense song, and I can't relate to every aspect in a literal sense. But it is a very, very powerful, moving song about man, when I was 8, I thought I knew what I had coming, and I literally did not. I could not have guessed any of this, and in the best way possible, though. I thought I knew who I was going to be, and she used to be mine, but now she's not. So yeah, that'd be my answer.
Great. We'll pop those onto the playlist.
Absolutely.
I'll send you which edition of Cheeseburger in Paradise to put on.
Perfect. Great.
Paradise.
Cheeseburger in
I love it.
Paradise.
So from me, final thoughts, I would say I think you are beautiful inside and out. I think you are one of the funniest people that I've ever met.
It didn't get as rowdy as I was expecting, honestly. We were a little tame. I'm proud of us.
Right.
I'm
but
really
you
proud.
are so funny. The meme queen. The best puns. I mean, just like I love.
Like, she might surpass you, Mandy.
She probably does.
She does.
Like,
Wow.
okay, I'd probably say.
Aware.
Well, puns, I don't know. We both have them.
We're both pretty bad.
Hers are a little more purposeful. Mine just slip out. Totally unintentional. Like, I don't even mean to do
on
it.
mine for a minute, and then Mandy's just like says stuff, and we're like, "You what? You did what now?"
You just are like, "What? Where'd that come from?"
Love it.
But yeah, so I do think you're beautiful inside and
you.
out. I do think I've seen pictures of you from the past too, and I would also agree. I think you look more healthy and more beautiful now the way that you are compared to when you were the way that you looked a while back. And I think there's so much more that we could talk about, but I adore you, who you are as a person, both inside and out. So I'm just saying that, it's not a dating app here or anything, but like,
oh my gosh, Mandy.
I'm just kidding.
I wish you guys could see I'm doing a hair toss right now. So
She's blushing.
I'm so embarrassed, but like, this is my good angle.
No. Oh my gosh. No, I do truly mean that. And so I'm just really grateful that you're here and able to share. And I think anybody, again, male, female, and any age can relate to something that we talked about today.
Absolutely. Even someone who I figure myself a very, someone who thinks about what they say a lot, as I can't get words out of my mouth. And just the fact that you were able to bend my mind a little bit and reconsider some of the things that I've said. That's really, really, really helpful. So you've already affected one person, so thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
But yeah, and that's my pleasure.
You
That's
can't tell where I work. I was like, can I say it? Can I not? Sure. Well, we'll leave that up to mystery.
Up for interpretation.
Up for interpretation.
Yeah, that's what we're all about here. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me, guys.
We love you. We'll see you soon. And guys, thanks for listening. Tune in next time for
Maddie's Honey Roast, where you just give me compliments.
Oh my gosh.
Please. Yes, oh my gosh.
Can we do that for my birthday this year? Just like a honey roast?
For sure.
But like a surprise honey roast.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
That's great.
Now that I've told you.
Would you like to pick the venue too?
Oh yeah, we'll do that.
We'll get to all that later.
Yeah.
All right. Follow along the journey.
See you next time.
Bye, Felicia.